Hello, my name's Diane Simburo. Welcome back again. I'm a survivor of family violence, if I haven't already told you that, and I've gone on to being a thriver, and over the past 10 years I've taught other women how to go from just surviving to thriving after family violence. My topic today is the question that everybody asks, even other women ask this, but why doesn't she just leave? So the answer may surprise you. I hope that it does, and I hope that it makes sense to you today. So under normal circumstances, we're able to process decisions because we have the logical, rational and reasonable part of the brain that is switched on. But when you're undergoing family violence, the brain is getting the message that this is an emergency situation. We're in emergency mode. And the only things that are available to you in an emergency mode are intuition and adrenaline, because those are the two things that will help you survive an emergency situation. The logical, rational and reasoning parts of the brain shut down because they need to shut down. If you take the time to process decisions, if you take time to assess the situation, if you take any time away from immediate action, you could put yourself at risk. So the whole purpose of your brain giving you intuition and adrenaline, it's geared up for action, and that action is so that you will survive and so that you can stay safe. Now, I hope that makes sense. There's so many people who don't understand that when you're going through family violence, that those logical, rational, reasoning parts of the brain are no longer available to you. The brain is in hyper alert mode, and survival is the most important thing that you need to achieve during that time. So I've done all that. Okay. So what happens then if there are threats? The reality is, when you're going through family violence, if the partner seems to think that you might leave, there are usually threats that if you leave me, I will, fill in the blanks, or no one will believe you even if you leave, if you tell anybody. So the reality is that sends a message to the brain: I have to survive, so I can't leave. Now, I hope this makes sense. I have to survive, so I can't leave. That is not a logical thought process for you and me, who are not, I'm no longer living in family violence, but for other people who aren't going through family violence, that's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. I have to survive, therefore I can't leave. It seems counterproductive, but the reality is, what's not logical to us is very reasonable to a person who's trying to survive. Okay? After leaving, after a woman manages to leave, the logical, rational, reasoning parts of the brain kick back in again. And so then they start processing what has actually happened. But before that, there's no availability of that. Remember, I have to survive. I have to keep myself safe. Even though staying within that situation that is threatening is the place where you seem at most threat, but also the women know that if they threaten to leave, that ups the ante on the safety issues, or the threat of more violence or threat of more harm. So yeah, I hope that makes sense today. So as I said, after leaving, the brain kicks into the logical, rational and reasoning parts of the brain again. If you like what I've spoken about today, please leave a comment or some feedback. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. I'll be happy to hear your feedback. Follow my page so that you can be here for future lives. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Does this make sense to you? Does this answer the question of why doesn't she leave? And also, does it surprise you? Okay. That's all for today. I will see you tomorrow, I hope. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Bye.